Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Daily Reset for Success show. Today I have with me a special guest all the way from
From Ireland, but
Ireland.
I don't have the accent because I grew up in Wyoming.
See how
So,
things are. Yes.
yep, yep.
So the Daily Reset for Success show is about resetting yourself on a daily basis. So one time if you wake up in the morning and you're feeling kind of groggy and yucky, and you're reaching for the coffee and your thoughts start going down, I want you to think about this. I want you to just do whatever you can to reset. Go back in the bedroom if you have to. Turn on some music, meditate, do whatever you need to. Watch one of our shows because we're giving you all kinds of tips and tricks on how to reset. Sometimes you have to do it multiple times during the day. Maybe your reset needs to happen at noon instead of when you get out of the bed in the morning. But whenever it is, I encourage you to do it because we can get stuck in a mode that we're not really we don't really approve of. When we look back on ourselves the next day or the next year, when we look back on ourselves and we go, gosh, I really could have done better.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't feeling well, I really should have snapped at my kids or, kicked the dog. No, don't kick the dog.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Oh,
No,
no.
I love it. I was just thinking this morning, I woke up kind of feeling a little bit like I just didn't want to do the day and got up and managed breakfast and then decided to go ahead and take a walk and took a half an hour walk, got some fresh air outside, and it was like pressing that reset button and just coming back in, and then I could get work done and get focused. So
the trick is to be aware. That's one of the reasons why I love this. So if you haven't already noticed, my guest's name is Amy.
Hi.
And Amy contacted me through the Natural Curiosity channel, and boy, was my curiosity piqued when I saw that she has a website and is interested in curiosity also. So immediately we were like, who are you? And what are you doing?
It's so exciting to find you.
I'm curious. What are you up to?
Yes.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about how she got started in the curiosity stream, and we're going to also talk about why curiosity is good for you, why you should stay curious. So Amy, let's start with asking you a few questions personally about you. Now, how in the world were you raised in Wyoming and ended up over in Ireland?
My husband likes to give long, big, silly stories and see how much shock value he can get out of people before he tells the truth. I'm not good at that. I just don't straight to the truth. So I grew up in Wyoming and played a lot of Irish music and came to Ireland to study. I did my master's here about 6 years ago. And I met my husband, James, while I was studying here in Ireland. And so we got married and moved back to Wyoming. Actually, other way around. He moved to Wyoming and then we got married and spent a few years there. But we decided it was time to come back and spend some time in Ireland. He has a lot of family here. His parents are here. So we packed up and moved this way. So it's been an exciting, big adventure. Lots of changes in 2019 for me. So it's nice to get into 2020 and settle out a little bit.
So what does settling out a little bit mean to you?
Oh, some of it is finding that routine.
Okay.
Because we both quit jobs. I was a school teacher. I've been teaching in various degrees, either classroom or private students, music, since 2002. And so, coming from a very regimented routine of I have students at particular times and coming in and out my door, coming in and starting over and working on this business, getting curious about my curiosity and encouraging other people to get curious about their curiosity. It's been interesting finding my routine and my days, what they look like. There's a lot of flexibility, which is great, but it can also be kind of scary because there's a lot of flexibility. So
flexibility. I love that word.
Mm.
If we can remain curious and flexible, our lives will be easier. Our family, ourselves, everything around us. If we remain flexible, then it's just easier. Everything is easier. Don't you agree?
And I would say I would start with the curiosity piece. That being more curious promotes the flexibility. I think sometimes it's very difficult for us to change. We don't want change, like we as humans overall. We like staying the same. We get comfort and security from that. But sometimes we need to change, or sometimes we decide we want to change for whatever reason. And if we can start being curious about that, that can give us some of the tools we need to create that flexibility. So they're definitely hand in hand, but definitely agree they're two really important traits to cultivate.
So what have you noticed in your young, tender years that is the best for the human condition about staying curious? What is it that helps us as human beings to remain curious?
To keep, like, as far as strategies to stay curious.
Okay, so strategies. Okay, so let's just say in your personal life, okay, in a human being's personal life, what good does it do us to stay curious about things?
So curiosity, more and more, I think, is being recognized as like the next level. It keeps our minds activated, and if we keep our minds activated, then we'll be more engaged with the world. And this world needs people who are engaged. We need people who are, and I'm not necessarily saying like politically and that sort of thing. We're going to keep that.
But people who are living there, though.
People who are living their passion. People and actually, I say the word passion. I actually really hate the word passion sometimes, because I think sometimes it's this big thing of, oh, you need to find your passion. Just do what you're passionate about, and you'll never work a day in your life. And that's great if you know what you're passionate about, or you're only passionate about one thing. But there's many of us that we don't know what our passion is, or we have so many passions we're not sure what to do. And so being curious gives us a tool to kind of explore a lot of different facets. It keeps our relationships interesting with other people, with loved ones, with coworkers, with family, with even just acquaintances. You have those conversations that get started because you were curious and reached out and said, hey, I saw this. We have this little thing in common. I noticed. Do you want to have a chat? And here you are a few weeks later on the Daily Reset for Success show, chattering away. So
very, very interesting. I agree. So sometimes it takes gumption. It takes courage to be curious. Definitely. And actually follow through on your curiosity. I have found that to be true. If you're not curious enough, it's a fleeting thought and you just leave it alone. But if you follow your curiosity and if you stay in the question mark, I think life can be an adventure, and it can be full of fun, and you meet new people. I mean, just like you said, you were curious about me, and you reached out, and what happened? You have a friend now in Texas.
And you have a friend in Ireland.
I know. I want to come visit you. How about that? Okay, this reminds me of a group that I used to belong to when I first got into business, and we were working from home. So the story goes, I was a truck driver, and I got out of trucking and moved to Texas because a friend of mine said, hey, why don't you move here? You could stay here with me until, you get on your feet, get a job and whatnot. And I said, okay, sounds good. Texas. All right. Never dreamed I'd live in Texas, but okay. Turned out I really liked it a lot. And I have healthcare in my background. She asked me to help take care of her mother who was dying. So I did a lot of volunteer work for hospice and worked for visiting nurses and stuff. So I felt comfortable doing that. And she got fired from her job because she spent too much time with her mom as she was dying. But because she was a Microsoft engineer and all the clients were calling her, they didn't care about the company. They cared about her because she was the one that was
Mm-hmm.
fixing their systems.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, why don't we work together? I'll do all the business end and you do the Microsoft engineering part, and
Mm.
we'll create a business and you can continue working in the line that you wanted to, and your
Mm-hmm.
customers are happy and I'm happy. She said, okay, that sounds great. So I don't know, the curiosity for me was just overwhelming. What's this going to be? What road is this going to take me on? And I just found myself being more flexible because I was getting more and more uncomfortable because it was getting bigger and bigger very fast. It grew very
Mm-hmm.
fast. But I had to stay in that curiosity, like, okay, well, what can we do with this? Oh, you know what? We're two women. We could be. I wonder what it would be like if we were certified as a woman business owner. That might open up, new avenues.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go for that. And so I think I just tried to stay there instead of in the fear. I tried
Yeah.
to stay in the curiosity, and it led me to so many different things that are happening now.
Yeah.
My life is totally different than what I thought it would be.
Fabulous. Yes. I would agree that the power curiosity has to help us overcome our fears and confront, not even confront them like physically, but to look at them and see where they're really stemming from, what's holding us back, and then approach them in a way that we can move past and we can become more flexible. It's so exciting.
It really is. It's really
So
exciting. Now, you actually work with people. You have like a program or a system that helps people go through a program. Could you explain that a little bit?
yes, so I am launching the Curiosity Effect, which would be a 6-week course starting February 17th. And it's to help people. I find often when I'm chatting with people, people have these senses of frustration, of being sort of stuck in life that they're wanting. I actually had a quote, if I can find it. One of my mentors right now, this just really stuck with me. She said, the human condition is a confused mess of emotions. We often have this undefined longing and desire for more without knowing what more looks like, feels like, and tastes like. So that keeps us in a perpetual state of frustration, dissatisfaction, and unfulfilled desire. And that just really stuck out with me, as far as so many of us find this ourselves in this place. And curiosity is a great tool to move through and out of that. So I sort of break curiosity down into a couple different sections on how to activate it very gently and very slowly, and not feel like it's this big overwhelming process, because it shouldn't be. Like, curiosity is the thing we have when we're kids that makes us joyous and excited and interested in life. And I know sometimes as we get older, we have that feeling of protecting ourselves, and we don't follow those because we're scared. So I try. All of this is done with very small, simple exercises. One of my favorites is to name, and maybe we can try this if you have close by, because you can use any object, but to name 10 things about your favorite coffee mug.
Oh, well, I just happen
Or
to have one
I
right
said, do you have
here.
a coffee mug? Oh,
I do.
fabulous.
I do. It says, my
Yes.
journey begins today.
So there's one thing about your coffee mug. What else do you notice about your coffee mug?
I noticed that it's real pretty blue on the inside.
Yes, I like
And
that blue.
it's nice and large, so I can
Mm-hmm.
have a nice big cup of coffee.
Good
I
stuff.
noticed that it's microwavable, so I can
Yeah,
reheat it because it sits a lot.
perfect. When you tapped on it, what did it sound like?
Oh, like I need to cut my
Yeah.
fingernails? They're
Is there
clawed.
coffee in? Yeah, is there
There,
coffee inside it?
there is coffee inside it,
There
and it
is
tastes
coffee. So what does it?
delicious.
And it tastes. So your all of your senses here. We've talked about your what you see about it, the sound, the smell, the taste, the touch of the mug, all of those
Mm,
senses. So starting with
yeah.
that as a very
Oh,
basic, and that took
good.
us. I mean, I think what, a minute and a half to do that. And so, yeah, little tiny bites that you can do. So this isn't a big, overwhelming process. It's just little fun activities to help spark that curiosity. Because if you think about that later, then as I said, you can do this with anything. 10 things about your toothbrush, 10 things about the steering wheel of your car, and just start to find your cell phone. Well, don't we all tend to love our cell phones?
And it's always plugged in.
Yes.
Yeah, I love the fact that I can plug it in and charge it back up again. Oh my goodness, I love this. This is awesome. This is a great tool.
So that's
10 things about anything. You can look around and see anything.
Yes, and that's just one little example. What you have on today. You can do this with a family member. I was just going to say, with a family member or a friend, or even a colleague at work, if you know someone who'd be interested in this. 10 things you notice about somebody else. And you'll find that I've found, as I've put this into practice, that I'm more aware of my environment around me, which again then engages my curiosity. It's a cycle, it's a spiral effect, because then when I look more closely at things, I start to wonder about them. I start to ask questions. I start to investigate. The other day, about a week and a half ago, there were 2 birds outside my window, and they were just sort of common dark birds. I wasn't sure what they are. I sat and watched them. I was really enjoying it, so I gave myself like 20 minutes. I wouldn't have had to take 20 minutes, obviously. And then I came back, though, and I started asking questions. I started looking up what kind of birds they were, where they were it was 2 blackbirds, but they actually had different looks to them and all these things. So I started that investigation and that inquiry, and that's sort of the next step that we take in this course, is to start asking those questions, starting to ask questions. Yes, Google's great, but also, when we can, asking questions of people, because when we're interacting, as we've done now, we have these little moments of, oh my gosh, there's that, and you have that growth. There's that spark that happens, because you're not just receiving like you would when you're reading an online article. You're exchanging. And there's a lot more momentum that you get out of the exchange than you do just asking Google. So, yeah.
I love that. Well, if you would like to get a hold of Amy, I'm going to tell you about 2 different places where you can go. The first one is her website, and I have it up on the screen. But if you're listening to the podcast, you don't see the screen. So I'm going to read it to you. It's cultivateyourcuriosity.com. cultivateyourcuriosity.com. And then there's one other way that Amy is allowing us to get to know her better, and that is through Facebook. So her Facebook is at, of course, facebook.com/constantlycurious.
Yeah.
Facebook.com/constantlycurious. So those are 2 ways that you can get a hold of Amy, so that you can find out more about her, not just her, but also her course that she's. When are you starting your course in February?
We're starting, February 17th. And so this will be sort of a one-time go to start with, where we'll do this together. So you'll have support, you'll have a community of curious people. I read the word curiositarian came up as I was researching curiosity and reading about curiosity. So curiositarian was added to the dictionary, I can't remember, a while back now, and it's someone who is actively curious. So yeah, it's nice to have a community of people to go through this. I'll be going through, of course, with you. There'll be little bite-sized chunks coming out every day, little challenges, little fun things, just to help get through that frustration and stuck and annoyance in life and move forward to a place of joy. Because that's one of the things I've loved about the podcast you and Lady Lou do, is that sense of joy that I feel when I'm watching you guys. It makes me smile when I watch. So,
well, I used to have too many websites, but of course I had MarionLaSalle.com and my business website, which was it's still going, PaintedPathDesigns.com, where we would build websites and do all kinds of technology, informational type of services and products. And then I just had to venture out. And as I was trying to think of the name, I came up with flexibility and flexible lifestyle and all, and that nothing ever really quite fit until somebody said, well, Mary, you're just naturally curious. And I thought, you're right. I'm curious about everything. So I looked it up and it was taken already. The name was taken. So I finally settled on naturalcuriosity.life because
Okay.
.com was already taken.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
most people would like shy away from a not .com, but not me. Oh no, I'm curious.
Just embrace it. Be curious and see what happens.
It's about life, right? Natural
Yes.
curiosity about
Yes.
life. So yeah, I would love a community, and do. I enjoy my community because they're all naturally curious with me. I mean,
Yes.
we find all
Yeah.
kinds of curious things out there on Google and in person. So you fit right in.
Yes, it's been fabulous joining your community on in your Facebook group. I've really enjoyed those. So, can I ask you what you do to sort of help maintain your natural curiosity? Is it something you think about actively?
I do, absolutely. It's natural and it just comes up because I'm just a curious person anyway. However, I found that maybe some of it was held down a little bit because I found that people who were asking too many questions or seemed intrusive with their questions, I felt like they were, nosy neighbor type things like Mrs. Kravitz on Bewitched, always curious,
Yeah.
too curious about
Yes.
other people. So I think I stayed away from asking too many questions.
Mm.
And a friend of mine brought that to my attention. She said, you never asked me any questions about, what's going on with me. And I thought, well, I'm curious. They're in here. The questions are in here. I'm just not vocalizing them. So I thought, all right, there's got to be a middle of the road between Mrs. Kravitz and my crazy, natural curiosity about
Yes.
everything. And so I think I found a good balance.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I think a lot of people have experiences in the past of being, we were talking just before we started today, the curiosity killed the cat kind of expression, that curiosity sometimes has been shunned as this negative thing, like you shouldn't be curious. And it's actually interesting, as I've been doing research, the influence, a lot of the influence of the church on curiosity and whether it's encouraged or discouraged in schools, depending on the philosophy of a school, of course, government and politics and how they interact with their people. So I think many of us do have an underlying sense of curiosity is bad, but actually, when you take a step back and look at what curiosity can do for you, it's one of the most powerful and one of the simplest tools that we can use to create change in our life.
Well, I just absolutely love your little, whatever you call that, where you ask, you want to know 10 things that you're curious about, or 10 things about this cup that, I'm like, wow, I really enjoyed that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I've loved putting this course together. I'm really excited to be sharing it and helping other people re-engage their natural curiosity.
So how did you get started? What brought you to this point?
So a few years ago, I went to a conference and ran into a former professor of mine that had been a really close mentor. And he asked how I was doing, and I just went, oh, same old, same old. And I went, oh my gosh, because this has been someone I had been close to. So it's not like I was telling him that nothing was happening as a defense. Like, I would have happily shared many things, but I just thought, what am I doing with my life to run into somebody I haven't seen in several years and to be like, oh, things are boring. Like, things are the same old, nothing has changed. And it was a little bit of a wake-up call for me. It was sort of that moment of knowing I wanted to change. And so I started kind of looking how to go about that, and kept coming back to this idea of curiosity and what happens when I actively seek out curiosity, when I'm actively engaging in in the process of observation, in the process of asking questions, in the process of experimentation. And so I started experimenting with this and doing a lot of reading, of course, watching videos, and overall just exploring on my own how to be more curious. And it woke up. I felt like I was coming out of this sort of foggy feeling, and there was this clarity.
That sounds really good, like a birth of a new baby. Seriously, you woke up. Did you hear yourself? You woke up and you started feeling alive again.
Yeah.
Like you had something that you were excited about and you were moving toward.
Yeah.
Just keep moving forward. Yeah, that's wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that. Now, you had quite a life change coming from United States and going to another country.
Yes.
I bet you could quell some of our curiosity about what it's like to live over in Ireland.
It's funny because that is a question that we get a lot. Both ways. My husband gets asked for America, and I get asked. Being from Wyoming, Wyoming is known as a big state, but we have small towns, small population, and sometimes people refer to it as one town with very, very long roads. And so there's definitely that small town feel where I grew up in Cheyenne. Here in Ireland, there's also a lot of that. It is funny, people are curious about your background. I find a lot more than when you're chatting in the States, that they want to ask, that they ask, like, where are you from? They often try and find that connection here, because many people who live in Ireland have family that immigrated to the United States. And so a lot of them can say, English, where are you from? Because they want to make that connection, and they're curious on how they can establish that connection.
Sure.
But I think it comes down to a little bit on their background of they can tell by the accent here. Irish accents actually have quite a variety, and you can often listen when you start to adapt to the Irish accent and know the different areas of the country someone is in Ireland just by listening to their accent. So it was their way of bridging that gap. Is just, okay, I can't tell where you're from in America, so I'm just going to ask. So it's very friendly. They can
tell you're American.
Yeah. They can tell I'm American. Although sometimes my Irish accent does slip out. I can tell I've been.
I heard little bits and pieces of it. I really did. A few times I thought, oh, there it is.
Yep. So, I mean, it's always different coming to a different country. I have lived here. This is my third time living in Ireland, but this other two times is both as a student. And I always thought it was interesting coming over because you expect, people talk about, what's it called? The culture shock. And you expect certain things. You expect, the different money that people use. If you go to a country with a different language, you're obviously that there's that culture shock. So there's culture shock that you expect because it's different. But I've always found actually the part that hits the most is the culture shock you don't expect. So it's those small things. When I lived here first, I was expecting Ireland, England, the UK, Britain are renowned for their tea. I should be able to get all sorts of tea. It's going to be so exciting. I love tea. Was really excited. When I moved here, and it's definitely changed since then, but when I moved here first 12 years ago to do a year abroad, you could have any tea you wanted as long as it was black tea, black English breakfast tea. That was it. There was nothing else you could find without having really, really searching. So some of those little things that you don't have on your radar that will be different are the ones that kind of catch you the most, which is kind of fun. It's fun when you approach it with that sense of curiosity, when you approach it with that sense of wonder. And sometimes you have to remind yourself, and I think this anybody, it doesn't matter if you've moved countries or cities or if you're in the same place, those little annoyances, if you approach them with curiosity and lean in and ask questions, you can have a better experience and a nicer experience by doing that versus confronting and putting up blocks.
Well,
So,
Amy, the time just slipped away.
it does. It does. This has been fabulous, Marian. Thank you.
I want to ask you if you could please come back when Lady Lou is with us. Her computer's
would
still
love
in
to.
the hospital.
Oh,
And yes, the poor thing. It's
when
you know, life
when you say,
support.
because you mentioned that, yes, last week your computer's in the hospital. Is that like it's in the computer hospital, or it's like actually at the hospital?
Nope, it's in the computer
It's
hospital.
in the computer hospital.
Yes.
That makes more sense.
Yes.
I thought maybe she'd gone up to visit a friend and had, forgotten her laptop on the.
Oh, yeah, no, it's been there for like 2 weeks now.
No, it's in the computer hospital. Oh,
yes.
no. Yes, would love to come back and visit again in maybe another week or two. Maybe when her, as you said, when her computer is.
She would love that because I'm sure
again.
she's feeling left out that she wasn't here today.
Yes.
All right. So once again, thank you, Amy. Amy, if you want to get a hold of Amy, I want you to be able to do that easily. So all you're going to have to do is go to either her website or her Facebook. So her website is cultivateyourcuriosity.com, and her Facebook is facebook.com/constantlycurious.
And that one's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me, is the Facebook page. And just send me a direct message and I get back to those as quickly as I can.
Oh,
so keeping in mind there's a 7-hour time difference between me and 6 hours between Ireland and Texas. So now, sometimes I go to bed.
It's 1:30 p.m. here. What time is it in Ireland?
It's 7:30 p.m.
Okay, see, she's getting ready to go to bed, and I'm just starting my day.
You're just starting up.
I am. I've been up a while.
Yes, I do respond quickly to the Facebook messages on that. So.
Okay, good. Well, it was wonderful having you on. I look forward to getting to know you even better. I have more curiosity questions for you. So
I feel like we've just hit the tip of the iceberg.
We did, just a little bit. Thank you again. And for those of you who are new to our show, this is a daily show. It's called Daily Reset for Success. And the reason why we want to do it daily is because we need it, honestly. We need to keep resetting, because we get pulled in and we have old habits that pull us back, and we just need to reset. So we want success in our finances, prosperity, and that can be anything. Prosperity could be anything, just as long as you feel worthy of receiving. That's prosperity to me. So you're all types of different things that we can do to reset our life for health, prosperity, love, and our joy and happiness. All right. So you come back again.
I will do. Thank you, Marian, for all you're doing for people to help them get all those things in their life. So it's fabulous.
Thank you. Well, you have a fantastic day. Create a fantastic day for yourself.
Be active about it.
Bye for now.
Bye.